My name is Kyra. I'm messy, forgetful, disorganized, and I have ADHD. Neurodiversity is beautiful, but growing up with attention deficit disorder in a world built for neurotypicals, I didn't always think that. Neurotypical people are those who align themselves with the cognitive standards and norms of our society. It's things like understanding body language, being able to follow a certain routine, and fitting into social systems like our education system. When you're neurodivergent, you don't always align with these standards and norms, so growing up can feel like you're a square peg being beaten into a round hole. So what is ADHD? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder presents itself in three main ways. Inattention, these are the ones who get distracted easily, the window gazers. Hyperactivity often looks like fidgeting, not being able to sit still, interrupting others. These are the ones who are usually diagnosed early, or a combination of the two. ADHD is also described as a brain lacking dopamine. To make something very complicated overly simple, dopamine is the neurotransmitter in our brain that helps us focus, organize, and process information. There's a long list of symptoms, and each individual has their own presentation of ADHD. Though millions of adults and children have been diagnosed with this disorder, my situation was a little different. While I was diagnosed at the age of 5, most of my friends weren't diagnosed until after high school or even late into adulthood. Up until the late 90s, due to a variety of reasons, boys were diagnosed at almost 10 times the rate of girls. Today, that number has dropped to around 2.5 times. This disparity has led to many late-in-life diagnoses. Though I've always known I had ADHD, I haven't always known how to work with it. But to be fair, nobody else did either because of how differently it presents in those assigned female at birth. Early on, I loved school. But by the 5th grade, I had to keep track of my own assignments and due dates. And no matter what I did, tests became harder, and slowly I lost interest. The best way I've ever heard ADHD described is like watching TV. The channels keep switching, but somebody else has the remote. In high school, my friends were all in AP and advanced classes, while I was stuck taking Algebra 2 for the second time my senior year. I sat in the audience watching them get inducted into the National Honor Society on stage. I was happy for them, but watching people get recognized for their academic success when I could barely figure out how to turn an assignment in on time was tough. However, in college, I thrived. I joined clubs and organizations that allowed me to explore my various interests. I made honor roll for the first time in my life. But what changed? I got to study topics that were interesting to me. I learned how my brain worked and found strategies that helped. I knew I had ADHD, but I was always told it was something I had to work around instead of work with. For a few of my classes, I was able to record lectures on my phone and play back the class at twice the speed to keep my brain engaged. I was lucky enough to have understanding professors who worked with me to achieve this. Sometimes instead of a traditional test format, I could express my knowledge through creating videos or infographics. The classes where I got to practice my creativity and innovation to express what I've learned were the ones that I learned the most in. While I've been successful, I've also learned that when people don't understand ADHD, there can be negative consequences. In the past, if I've been late to work or an event, people assume that I don't care or that I don't respect their time. In reality, ADHD brains can have a skewed sense of time. To help with this, I've learned to set alarms to remind me of when to leave or start different tasks. Yes, even drink water. While people in my life have learned to be accommodating, I still get frustrated with myself. But seeing positives in other ADHDers has allowed me to recognize and appreciate my own strengths. We tend to be kind, funny, great at problem solving, and thrive when given a challenge. In school, it was never about finding my strengths, it was about fixing my weaknesses. Despite being told I have an attention deficit disorder, I became a photographer, a musician, a half marathoner, a roller skater, a collage artist, a writer, a trail runner, a storyteller, a videographer, a snowboarder, a camp counselor, and for a brief hyperfixation, a drone operator. That one ended when my dad and I accidentally landed my drone on Highway 41. Hyperfocusing is how we can focus on hobbies for hours on end and has led to some of the greatest works in history. In 2011, it was reported that nearly 1/10 of children in the US have brains genetically powered for creativity and problem solving. These ADHD brains have the same traits that allowed Simone Biles to become the most decorated gymnast in history, Bill Gates to create Microsoft. The rising diagnosis is not because of technology. It's a better understanding of a potentially debilitating condition, an understanding that gifted students and girls can have ADHD too. It's not someone who gets distracted easily or won't stop fidgeting. It's brains trying to find a basic level of stimulation. It isn't being lazy. It's executive function deficits that make it hard to get started on tasks. And while you might see us sitting on the couch scrolling on our phone, we're actually chronically overwhelmed. I'm still dedicated to learning my own shortcomings, but I realize that I'm not alone. The biggest thing that I've learned is that once you recognize your challenges, you can find solutions. I started finding communities of people with brains similar to mine. My favorite is a Facebook group called Neurodivergent Cleaning Crew, where we share tips for cleaning. I've learned how to use lists to break down big tasks, or that there's this thing called body doubling, where people with ADHD are more productive when there's someone else in the room. Sometimes if I need to get laundry done, I'll just FaceTime one of my friends. Figuring out how to live in your own brain, in your own body, is the task of your life. I learned that I don't have to take on that mission alone. So today, I'm working with my friend Grace to build a website and storytelling initiative so that people don't need to fail out of college or get fired from their first job to finally learn about their brain. We hope to raise voices from individuals with autism, dyslexia, and other neurodivergent perspectives in the working world. So the next time you're looking at someone and asking yourself what's wrong with them, maybe ask yourself what's right. How can their differences add to society? And what can you as an individual do to help make the world more accessible for them? Society is our user's manual. We learn how our brains and bodies work by watching those around us. And when yours works differently, it can feel like you're broken. Neurodiversity is less about having a name like ADHD and more about having an understanding of so many of the things that I struggle with. I'm learning patience and understanding with myself, and that's what's beautiful. So, I've rethought about how I introduced myself at the beginning of my talk, so let me start over. Hi, I'm Kyra. I'm passionate, creative, and innovative because I am neurodivergent. Thank you.